We are renowned at Bombardier for being innovative, creative, agile. The defense business, I think, needed that at the same time. So we bring that to the table, of course, leveraging technology and using AI being part of that. Middle East is important. You know, we've been in the Middle East. We're excited about the Middle East, about the growth. People need the range. They need the type of comfort on our plane.
Since becoming CEO in 2020, my next guest, Ric Martel, has turned Bombardier from a struggling business to a success story of aviation. He's joining me right now. Welcome, Ric.
Good morning.
So the story of Bombardier is very well liked in business circles because it's, if you don't mind me saying, a bit of a roller coaster story. And I hear that now it's also a big case study of Harvard Business School and Columbia University.
It is actually. Yeah. No, we had like a five amazing year at Bombardier right now. You know, the company was in the train business before, etc. We decided to focus solely on private jet, grew our services business and our defense business. And it's been going very well. Private jet has been becoming more and more popular around the world. You know, of course, the biggest installed base remains here in the US, but the rest of the world is growing very fast. And actually, there's been a lot of application where our jet are being used in military application, like for surveillance airplane and others. But the company went through a major turnaround, and you know, we've improved on all aspect, you know, on our financial. Just to give you an idea, our stock was trading at $6 to $10 in 2020. It's now trading at around $250. So significant turnaround for my team and the whole company.
Here at FII, you will be talking at a panel about the aerospace industry. What are sort of the main points you want to get across, given that you have experience really in various aspects of the industry?
Absolutely, yeah. No, a little bit what I just talked about briefly, but maybe in more detail. Clearly, you know, the world, all the equipment that you would put on a surveillance airplane, think of radar, think of communication equipment. All these equipment have become smaller and smaller over the years. So you don't need that big jet, you know, that we used to use for that. So the private jet, which are are performing extremely well, have like, you know, record altitude of flying at 51,000 feet. You know, they're flying, our jet, our Global 8000 is flying at 0.95 Mach, which is almost the sound of speed. So all these features that we can offer have been, you know, definitely an advantage, you know, for putting those type of equipment, improving their mission. And it's been a real shift over the last 10 years, probably towards those products. So we'll definitely talk about it tomorrow. And also, I would say the incorporation of also AI, I think, is in our product.
We'll talk more about AI, I'm sure. But having in mind capital in motion as a central theme of the FIR, this is really something that corresponds to Bombardier, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
How you decided to shift when it showed that it wasn't the right direction anymore.
Yeah. But you know, capital allocation is important. And you know, today we have the privilege at Bombardier, because we really turn around our financial position, to have you know, something like about $1 billion US to allocate, you know, to improve either our product, but also to invest in new business that we want to grow, like defense as an example, and come up with new solution. We are renowned at Bombardier for being innovative, creative, agile. Everybody talks to us about those things. And you know, in the defense business, I think, needed that at the same time. So we bring that to the table, and of course, leveraging technology and using AI being part of that.
How does AI come in aerospace, and specific examples?
It's coming in different area, you know, like managing inventory of spare parts, which is a very complex thing. So we've improved quite a bit, you know, the forecasting as an example, but also on the product itself. You know, how do we develop a product? Do we bring a product to market faster than we used to do it in the past? You know, producing, you know, paperwork, reports also that are needed, you know, to get the airplane certified. So we are using all those things, but also in the defense world, you know, we can fly an airplane unmanned today. You know, we can fly, you know, bring all the different systems collaborating together even further and faster and more accurately.
Is the industry going towards planes with no people in the
we
cockpit?
will eventually, but I think we're not there on the commercial side. It's possible. The technology is there. We can do it definitely on, you know, on defense project. So, and I think it's something that's probably needed at the same time. But I think in commercial, it's going to take a little bit of time, you know, for certification, for people to feel, you know, that they are still as safe, you know, to fly with an unmanned airplane. But we'll get there eventually.
This year is going to be a big year for Bombardier with the launch of the world's fastest business jet. Tell us about this project?
Yeah, no, so we started to deliver the plane. We certified the plane late last year, delivered our first plane in December. So the Global 8000 is actually reshaping the industry. This is like the flagship of private aviation. The airplane goes further, 8,000 nautical miles. So you can fly around 18 hours, on the plane. The airplane is the fastest airplane that exists, 0.95 Mach, but at the same time has lowest cabin pressure ever built before on a jet. When you fly long distance on a commercial plane, if you fly 15, you're going to be tired when you land because of the cabin pressure and the altitude that you're kind of flying to, which is usually 6,000, 7,000 feet. On our jet, you're at 2,000 plus, feet. So you basically fly 18 hours and you will feel as rested, as if you will have slept in your own bed. So,
And then when you mentioned faster, just to put it into perspective, if we take a comparison from London to Miami on a regular commercial
London, you
jet.
can save 45 to an hour, roughly. So 45 minutes to an hour easily.
Eric, you mentioned carbon footprints. Of course, private jets are repeatedly criticized for the impact they have on the environment.
First of all, aerospace has a history of always reducing footprint. If you go back and fly the airplane that we're flying in the 60s and the airplane that are flying today, we have probably half the carbon footprint for the same type of mission. So it's always been about reducing fuel consumption over the years, over the decades, has been very an important point for our industry. And today, I think you also have different fuel that we can use. So there's a renewable fuel that we're using a lot. As an example, our company flies every single airplane with a big portion of renewable combustible. So which makes it very significant in terms of reduction of emission, around 25 to 30% for each flight. So something that is a priority for us, of course.
Bombardier is a global company, obviously, but it's also very much a Canadian company, isn't it?
It is. But we say that, but aerospace is so global, I'll give you an example. Yes, we're headquartered in Canada and we're very proud of being a Canadian. But at the same time, we have 2,800 suppliers in the United States. And today, if you buy our Global 8000, you create a lot of job all around the world, mainly in the United States also. And as much as an American company, that will build a similar airplane to ours. So we are proud. We're building the airplane in Canada, but of course our supply chain is global. We have the US, Europe, pretty much everywhere around the world we're buying parts.
How big is the impact of policy on the aerospace industry? Of course, you have been exempt of tariffs, which
Yes.
was a big game changer for
Yep.
you. So how important is policy?
The aerospace industry is so global. Since 1979, it's been free of tariff around the world. There's most of the countries are part of that agreement. It's been replaced and incorporated in other agreement after that. I'll give the example of the United States. This is the neighbor of Canada. We have 2,800 suppliers. I have thousands of employees here also. So the significance, and this is still the biggest market. So it's important for us to have access to that market. But at the same time, if we don't, then this is going to have an impact on employment in the United States or elsewhere.
What other markets are you eyeing?
U.S. remained the biggest market, and I would say North America, because Canada is still a sizable market for the size of the country. Middle East is important. We've been in the Middle East. We're excited about the Middle East, about the growth, about, the trend is being, people need the range, they need the type of comfort on our plane. I think Latin America is actually, not a lot of people know that, but it is actually more private jet in Latin America is the second after North America, even before Europe. So there's a lot of jet, most of them pre-owned and older airplane, but there's clearly a market to replace those jet by new, and definitely there'll be growth in that part of the world also.
And what are your plans for the defense part?
Defense has become more and more significant. We officially created Bombardier Defense about 3 years ago in 2022. And at the time, it was just a small part of our company. It was about $250 million of revenue a year. 3 years later, last year in 2025, we reached $1 billion US of revenue in a company that is about 10 billion for the whole Bombardier. So it's becoming more and more significant. There's a lot, because of the current geopolitical context, there is a significant need today. And, most of the country are increasing their spending, to be better equipped. And clearly, our jet, are part of the solution because they are flying faster, they're flying at higher altitude, which brings all kind of new possibilities also for surveillance or other type of mission of that kind.
So the Harvard Business School, Columbia University business case, what was that all about?
Yeah, no, this was interesting. We were approached by both university, and they look at our turnaround at Bombardier over the last 5 years. They were a bit intrigued by how we did that and how it all shaped up. And it was not just about the financial, but also about the culture of the company, and that innovation spirit, product focus, but also people focus and customer focus. So we spent a lot of time with them, explaining how we did that. They did two beautiful case study that I had the chance actually to come and spend time with students actually at both university. After they read the case, taking their questions. So that was like an amazing experience.
Mr. Ric Martel, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.